So I'm going to teach you a game today that I like playing with the students that I work with, and it's called What Comes Next. It might be similar to a game you've played before, but these are the rules that I use. So the player one chooses a word that they are going to play against player two, and don't reveal that word to player two, but instead draw the number of letters indicated by lines that happen in the word. Now, if you want to make it slightly easier to begin, you can give a student the first letter. So now I say to my player two, what comes next? And they must guess the next letter here. So that's quite good to decide which letters do often follow C or K in a word. So player two, for example, might say, is it R? And so you could say, it's not R, and put the R underneath. But what word could start with a C and an R? And you could come up with it together. You don't have to, the student doesn't have to do it. You could be together. So you can create a list underneath. And I was just thinking of the word create. Nice way of adding a little bit more spelling in. So you could say, what comes next? What other words? And your student might say A. You could say, no, it's not an A. So write that there underneath. But what letter could be C and A? And don't worry too much if the word your student chooses beginning with CA doesn't have the right number of letters. This is about improving spelling and improving the knowledge and understanding. So don't worry too much. But you could say, okay, what word begins with a C followed by an A? And if they're not sure, you could maybe come up with one, like catch. Again, another good reinforcement of other letters. Okay, so what letter could come next? And this time they choose the correct one, which is H. And you say, yes, you could look at C and H. What sound does it make together? So what comes next? And it could be that they think it's another letter that isn't correct, but it doesn't matter because the idea is to understand spelling and look at different spelling patterns. So they might say E. And you'd say, E, it's not E next, but what word were you thinking of? And they could say cheat. So you're building up a nice collection of words here that it actually could be. Now, this would be a good time to think about words, and often there's going to be, it's going to be a vowel that follows. So you could give them a clue and say, it's actually a vowel here. So that would give them a clue. They might think it's I, and you could say, for which word? Like chicken. So the game continues like this until the student has actually chosen the correct words. This one would have been O, O, S, E for choose. So that is a game of what comes next. If you are playing with students who are a little bit less confident or worried about getting it wrong initially, then you're more than welcome to just give them the initial spelling like we had, give them the initial letter, and if they guess a letter, like for example they guessed O, you can actually add that in as you went. But this doesn't give so much chance to look at the collection of spellings that you build up by choosing what comes next, because there are lots of letters that don't follow other letters in English. This game obviously can be played in other curriculum areas. So if there's particularly tricky vocabulary you're learning in science, or if you're learning in geography, then there's no reason why your word that you choose at the beginning isn't a word that is from the other part of the curriculum.